What's going on, guys? This is Dennis here from Zeki's Reef, coming at you with a bit of a heat check and a bit of an update. I'm going to try and keep this quick, and then I'm going to have a little bit of a rant at the end of it, but nonetheless it's a rant worth having. Let's do the heat check first. Come down, pardon them, they're a little bit scuffed. I've had them for a while. These are my Asics Gel-Lite 5 concepts. They're a collaboration with the sneaker store Concepts, based out of Boston, Massachusetts, I think it is. And just some key features. This is all 3M. Laces have 3M accents. This track symbol for Asics is 3M, or it has highlights from 3M. So when you actually slap these with a flash, they glow. And I'll put up a picture of what they look like in the description, but know that this is going to be a tank update. Let's keep it $1.50. Unique thing about these, they got this nice grey pigskin, speckled midsole, which is pretty cool, and the speckle outsole as well, which is still pretty sick. The neat trivial bit of info about these is when they were being manufactured, I think the warehouse that was holding them had a fire breakout. I don't know if this is true or if it's a rumor. But they're called Embers because of the colorway. They're also Embers because the fire broke out, the fire extinguishers went off, they lost a good chunk of the stock, so they became a bit more of an exclusive cop for a while. I just like them because of the coloration. They look sick. A little bit tight because I am normally a 14 and these are a size 13, but they do all right. My feet are starting to get used to them. Tank update, not really going to do much in the sump. I've hooked up the dosing lines, so doing the 3-part. Got to change my filter socks. I've got extra filter socks as well, which is great. I'm going to wash them. Skimmer needs a bit of an empty, which I'll do later on. Let's close the cabinet. Let's go up into the tank. Corals. Acropora. These Milliporas are actually still doing quite well, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm going to try and continue that success for them. And hopefully they color up. Forest Fire Digi. Doing great. It's encrusting. As you can see, it's really growing onto the rock. The cap, the green cap, doing all right. I added in some red cap, that's doing okay as well. And again, if something goes wrong with this, I've got brood stock that I can tap into. Now, let's zoom out. Zoom back in, actually. And Acropora, it's got a bit of this weird algae shit growing on it, pardon my French. Which is a bit annoying, but it doesn't bother me because, like I said, I've got replacements for these. So I will, if it goes pairs up, I will replace them. Sorry, there we go. It's probably gonna do better. Something that's doing really well is this Hisuda. You see these 2 bits up here. That bit was worse for wear when I first chucked it in, had glue and shit because my mitts are huge. And that's actually grown over, which is pretty interesting. And I'm actually starting to see a little bit of encrusting on the rock. The front 2 have a bit too much glue gobbed around it, so they'll have to grow onto the glue, which they'll do in due course. But if I zoom in here, dead center in the screen, let's get my finger in the right spot there. Those are the bits I actually snapped those 2 pieces from. So you can see there that it's actually healed over and you've got pulps growing on it, which is always awesome. The Setosa is doing well. That was a little nub when I first broke off a piece from it, and it's starting to encrust out and branch out a little bit, but let's keep an eye on it for a while. The frags are sitting here, they're doing all right. Blue Digi's doing good. There's another red cap there that's doing all right. Green cap here, and then another one that's sitting behind here. They're doing great. Clownfish. I can't see it, it's gone. Anyways, Clownfish is doing well. McLean's doing well, but McLean doesn't like this phone for some reason. So you see McLean chilling there. Maybe McLean will come out later on. Let's see. But there you go, that's the tank update. Everything's going pretty well. I think the main thing I'm going to focus on doing along with the filter socks this week is taking it out and giving it a decent clean, putting it back in, then taking that out, giving it a clean, putting it back in. Nice and straightforward stuff. Green Star Polyp comes out every so often. That's doing pretty well. Zoanthids doing well as usual too. That's the update. I remember in the last heat check, I touched in on good husbandry, if memory serves me right. And when it comes to managing fish, what that is and what best practice is. Sorry, I slurred through that, didn't But nonetheless, for me, the biggest thing for best practice is quarantine. I can't say this enough, but if you quarantine your fish, you don't really need to worry about your nutrient control when it comes to adding fish too rapidly. Because if you're quarantining it, you're disciplining yourself by essentially capping the number of fish you can have at any given time. But then also making sure that when you add fish into the tank, they're readily eating. They can starve for a couple of days if they have to, or not eat for a couple of days if they're still getting acclimated to their tank mates. But they're not going to starve and waste away. And ultimately, they get used to eating pellets in quarantine as well. You get to control whether you introduce parasites, diseases, yada, yada, yada into your system by prophylactically treating. There's so many benefits to quarantining. So, like for me, it annoys me when you see videos of people saying why I don't quarantine. My advice for you is if you see a YouTuber that says why I don't quarantine, don't listen to them. Because the greats, guys like Mike Paletta, Sanjay Joshi, while they may not necessarily quarantine, they're still advocates for it. They're just realists as well. They're saying, oh, everyone says, yes, you should, but I am conscious that not everyone does. I myself may or may not take the risk. And I'm not sure if they actually do or don't quarantine per se. I know that they have said that people generally don't, but don't be like that. Like, if you can spare the money for a quarantine tank, definitely get it. It's worth it. Like I said, I quarantined all my fish. I've quarantined the corals because one of these kessels was out of action for a little while, set up on it. But moving forward, I probably won't quarantine corals. That's more due to the fact I don't have a lighting unit yet to run the tank. But people need to understand that I'm probably not going to be adding corals to this system while I don't have another tank set up that's able to quarantine the corals for a decent amount of time. So these are probably going to be the corals that I keep for a while, unless I can pull a frag from a system that I trust. And I'm willing to take that gamble with. But I'm not willing, and my friend Andy, who owns an aquarium store, says the same thing. Like, yeah, I can tell you these are quarantined, but are you willing to gamble however many thousands of dollars you've pumped into your tank full of corals and fish on not quarantining yourself? And he's an advocate for people quarantining their fish. And I'm an advocate for it. So I'm not going to change tune. So big takeaways from this week, I want to keep this under 9 minutes, is 1, these are dope sneakers. Sorry, I spilled some water on the ground as I was doing some work on the tank. 2, tank's doing all right. Still in the ugly stage. Like I said before, you just stick to your water change or your routine if you're in the ugly stage, and it will sort itself out. Your tank will mature, and as the fauna and flora population develops, this problem is not going to be a problem moving forward, right? Everyone goes to the ugly stage. Number 3 is the most important: quarantine your damn fish. Quarantine is not only good for controlling parasites that you introduce into the aquarium and stopping you having to manage for it in the aquarium, it's also great at getting your fish fat and healthy before you chuck them in the tank, and also used to captive life. Even if they're captive bred, you're still taking them into a new environment. So those are the 3 most important takeaways. Like I said, under 9 minutes now. It's been your boy Dennis for a minute times 9, talking about the update, the heat check for this tank, and the heat check for my feed. You already know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have a disagreement with me with regards to quarantining, pop it in the comments. I want to hear you out. I don't think you're right. I think you're wrong. I think quarantine's important, but I'm not going to sit here and turn around and tell you that that your opinion's not valid. Feel free to share it, and it'd be cool to get a bit of a discussion there. I'm always keen to respond back. But yeah, this has been the update. You guys stay safe, take it easy, and you know how it is. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the reefing. Catch you guys later. Peace.